Lyra had crossed 3 star systems without fear. She had walked inside human ships made of loud metal. She had seen humans argue, laugh, and shout at glowing screens. She had even survived her first human meal, which was far too spicy. But nothing prepared her for the room. It was small. Too small. The walls were white, too clean, almost blinding. The air smelled sharp, like chemicals and water. Lyra stood at the doorway, frozen. Her long fingers gripped the edge of the doorframe as if it might disappear. Her blue skin shimmered nervously, and the soft frills along her neck slowly flattened, a clear sign of fear for her kind. Inside the room, something waited. A white object. Cold, silent. With a dark opening at its center. Lyra swallowed. "Human Daniel," she said softly, her translator humming. "What is that?" Daniel turned around, towel over his shoulder, confused. "That? It's just the toilet." The word echoed in Lyra's mind. Toilet. Her eyes locked onto the open hole. "It looks," she whispered, "like a mouth." Daniel blinked, then laughed lightly. "Yeah, I guess it does." But Lyra did not laugh. On her homeworld of Virel, waste was handled by gentle biochambers. Warm surfaces. No noise. No deep holes. Nothing that stared back at you. This human device felt wrong. "Why does it have water?" Lyra asked. "Why does the water move?" Daniel shrugged. "That's just how it works." Lyra's breathing slowed, becoming uneven. The room felt smaller now. The quiet pressed against her ears. The toilet made a faint sound. A drip. Lyra jumped back. "It is alive," she said urgently. Daniel raised his hands. No, it's not alive. It's just plumbing. Plum. Bing? Pipes," he explained. "Water pipes." Her frills twitched. "Pipes that growl?" Daniel opened his mouth to answer, then paused. He noticed her hands shaking. He noticed how her eyes kept moving, never resting on the hole for too long. He noticed fear, real fear. "Hey," he said more gently. "You don't have to use it right now." Lyra shook her head. "I must learn human ways. I was sent here to understand your culture." Daniel nodded. "Okay, then we'll take it slow." He stepped into the room first, standing beside the toilet. "See? It doesn't do anything unless you tell it to." Lyra stayed in the doorway. "What happens if I anger it?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "You won't." He reached for the handle. Lyra's heart raced. Her translator struggled to keep up with her thoughts. "Wait," she said quickly. "What does that do?" Daniel hesitated. "It flushes." The word meant nothing to her. He pushed the handle. The room exploded with sound. Whoosh. The water spun violently. The toilet roared like a trapped beast. Lyra screamed. She stumbled backward, hitting the wall. Her frills flared wide in panic, glowing bright blue and white. Her breath came in sharp gasps. "The mouth is angry," she cried. "It is trying to eat the water." Daniel instantly let go of the handle. "Lyra, it's okay. It's normal." But she wasn't listening. To her, the room had become a threat. The sound faded, leaving heavy silence behind. Lyra slid down the wall, curling into herself. Her hands covered her ears. Daniel knelt in front of her. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I should have warned you." She looked at him, eyes wide and wet. "Why?" she asked, voice shaking. "Do humans live with such frightening things?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He looked at the toilet, at the quiet room, at the alien girl who trusted him enough to be afraid in front of him. Finally, he said, "Because we forget that fear isn't the same for everyone." Lyra lowered her hands. The room was still there. The toilet was still there. And she knew this was only the beginning. After the terrifying flush, Lyra stayed pressed against the wall. Her frills drooped, dimming from bright blue to pale gray. She had survived the roaring water, But the humiliation burned deeper than fear ever could. Daniel stood beside her, unsure what to do. He had faced hostile aliens, negotiating peace under threat of plasma weapons. He had stared down predators bigger than cities. Yet, right now, he felt small. He had laughed earlier, thinking the situation was funny, and now he saw the mistake. This was not a joke to Lyra, it was real terror. "Lyra," he said gently, "I promise you're safe. The machine won't hurt you. It's just a tool humans use." Lyra shook her head slowly. "It looks alive. It screams when I touch it. My people do not make machines that roar for no reason." Her voice trembled, and for the first time, Daniel noticed the small quiver of her tail-like appendage. He nodded, understanding her fear. "I should have shown you slowly. I shouldn't have laughed earlier. I didn't think. I wasn't thinking." Lyra's translator hummed softly. Her frills twitched, uncertain. She didn't respond immediately. Fear mixed with embarrassment. On her world, to fail at a simple task in front of others invited mockery. And humans, well, Daniel's friend walking past the door had already laughed. "Oh wow. Dan," a voice called from the hallway. "You're aliens scared of the toilet?" Lyra flinched. Her eyes widened, glowing faintly in shock. "Yes," she said honestly, her voice small but unwavering. "It looks like a hungry mouth." The human laughed harder. "Wait till she hears it flush." Daniel's stomach sank. He felt anger rise, but more than that, he felt a sting of guilt. He had made a friend feel unsafe. In the galaxy, he had seen humans hurt aliens with words without knowing it. Now he realized he had contributed to the cruelty, even if unintentionally. "Hey!" he snapped. "Stop laughing. It's not funny." But the other human just waved him off, chuckling as he walked away. Lyra's frills sagged even lower, her skin paling further. On Virel, mockery was cruelty. Fear could be forgiven, but ridicule could not. She pressed herself tighter against the wall. "I will learn alone," she whispered, her voice almost inaudible. She turned and stepped fully into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. Daniel heard the click and felt a pang of helplessness. She wanted to face this alone, yet her fear was still raw. The hallway was quiet again, but the silence only made the moment heavier. Daniel paced back and forth, debating what to do. He wanted to help her, but he didn't want to force her. Fear could not be solved with force. Then came the sound. A sudden violent whoosh echoed from behind the door. Lyra screamed. Not a small scream, a scream that shook the walls. It was raw, terrified, full of disbelief at the roaring, spinning water. Daniel froze for a heartbeat, then sprinted to the door. "Lyra!" he shouted. "I'm coming." He flung the door open. Lyra was pressed against the far wall, eyes wide, frills puffed, tail appendage shaking violently. Her skin glimmered with panic, colors shifting rapidly from blue to gray and back. She was trembling, too afraid even to step forward. Daniel knelt beside her. "It's okay. Look at me. I promise it can't hurt you. The flush is loud, yes, but it's safe. You're safe." She stared at him. Her voice was barely a whisper. "The water. It tried to eat me. It roared. It wanted to pull me in." Daniel reached out slowly, careful not to startle her. "No, Lyra, the water doesn't want anything. It's just spinning, humans. We just made it too noisy. That's all." Her frills twitched, uncertain. She studied his face, searching for any sign of mockery. There was none. Only concern. Only patience. You are not laughing?" she asked, almost incredulous. "No," Daniel said. "I am here to help. I won't laugh at your fear. I promise." Her breathing slowed slightly. She moved closer, a hesitant step. The roaring machine, now silent, seemed less threatening. The colors in her skin returned to soft, calming blues. Daniel smiled gently. "We'll learn together. One step at a time." Lyra nodded, still trembling, but trusting. The human beside her had become her anchor in a world that felt too loud, too bright, too strange. For the first time, she realized that not all humans laughed at fear. Some humans, she thought, would stand with you, even when the world seemed designed to terrify you. And in that quiet, tension-filled bathroom, Lyra felt the first spark of courage. The terrifying machine waited. But she was no longer completely alone. After the terrifying flush, Lyra stayed close to the wall, trembling. Her frills, normally bright and expressive, hung flat against her neck. Her tail-like appendage twitched with every small sound. Even though the bathroom was silent now, she could not calm herself. The machine, the human called it a toilet, had roared and spun in a way her species had never imagined. It had seemed alive, hungry, and full of anger. Daniel knelt beside her, trying to remain calm for her sake. He had faced deadly alien predators, negotiated with warlords, and survived the vacuum of space. But this moment was different. This was raw fear, pure terror in a creature who had trusted him. And he had laughed at it earlier. "I am so sorry," Daniel said quietly. "I shouldn't have laughed. I shouldn't have let anyone make fun of you. None of us should have." Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes wide and scared. "It is not your fault," she whispered, but her voice was shaky. "It is, this room. It is too loud, it is." "Alive," Daniel nodded. He understood more than she knew. Humans often laughed at fear, sometimes out of nervousness, sometimes out of habit. But to see fear so pure and honest made him wish he could take it away. "I'll help you," he said gently. "I won't leave you here alone. Not ever. You won't face it alone again." Her frills twitched in response, a subtle sign she was considering his words. Slowly, she sat on the cold floor, hugging her knees to her chest. "En Virel," she said softly, "fear is quiet. Fear is private. And we are not laughed at for it. Here, you humans. You make jokes." Daniel's chest tightened. "Sometimes we forget that fear is real for everyone, not just for humans. That was wrong of us. I promise I'll do better." Lyra's tail shifted nervously. "Why do you not fear it?" she asked, nodding toward the toilet. "You humans. You accept it?" Daniel thought for a moment. "We do, or at least we pretend. We pretend it doesn't scare us. But some of us," he looked at Lyra carefully, "some of us face fear differently. We stand beside those who are afraid, even when we don't fully understand. That's courage too." Her frills brightened a little, a pale blue returning. You stand with me." "Yes," Daniel said firmly. "Even if it roars and spins and makes the worst sound in the universe, I'll stand with you." Lyra's glowing eyes softened. Her fear didn't vanish, but trust slowly replaced some of it. For the first time, she believed that humans could be more than loud, strange, and unpredictable. Some humans were kind. Some humans could care deeply. And this one, Daniel, was proof. She tested herself. She took a slow, careful step toward the toilet. Her hands hovered above the cold porcelain. Her heart raced. The memory of the flush still echoed in her mind. Her frills twitched nervously. "Do you need me to demonstrate?" Daniel asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, I will face it. Myself, but I want you here." Daniel smiled, a soft warmth in his eyes. "I'll be right here. You can do this." Lyra's breathing became steady, measured. She touched the edge of the toilet with one hand, then the other. She pressed gently, feeling the cold, solid surface beneath her fingers. It did not move. It did not roar. It did not try to eat her. It does not bite," she said softly, almost to herself. Daniel nodded. See? Not alive. Not dangerous, just awkward. A small, nervous smile appeared on her lips. Her frills brightened to a soft, hopeful blue. She pressed the handle lightly. The toilet roared again, louder this time. Lyra jumped, but she did not scream. Her heart raced, but her courage had grown. I survived, she whispered. Eyes wide but proud. Daniel chuckled, gently this time. You did. And I'm proud of you. For the first time, Lyra realized that fear was not weakness. Facing it, even with trembling hands and a pounding heart, was strength. And humans, despite their strange ways and noisy machines, had the capacity to protect and guide, to stand beside the fearful without mockery. In that quiet, white room, she felt something shift. She was still afraid, yes, but fear no longer controlled her. It was a challenge now. Something to face, not something to run from. And in the corner of her mind, she made a promise to herself, to Daniel, and perhaps to all humans she would meet, that she would try to learn their ways, their strange, terrifying, wonderful ways, because some humans, she realized, were worth trusting completely. The next morning, Lyra returned to the bathroom with Daniel by her side. She had slept poorly, her mind replaying the terrifying roar of the spinning water, but she had also felt something new, a spark of courage. She was determined to understand this human machine. Her frills pulsed with soft blue light, a mix of curiosity and lingering fear. Daniel stood near the door, giving her space. You don't have to rush, he said gently. Take your time. I'll explain everything again. Lyra nodded. Her translator hummed quietly as she processed his words. On Virel, learning new tools was a private and quiet process, guided by patience and precision. Humans, she realized, were very different. They were loud, messy, and unpredictable, but Daniel's calmness made her feel safe. This, Daniel said, gesturing to the toilet, is how humans dispose of waste. It may roar and spin, but it is completely safe. It only moves when you tell it to. Lyra stepped closer. Her frills twitched nervously. She ran a finger along the smooth, cold surface. It was solid. It was still. It did not seem angry. I will try, she whispered, more to herself than to Daniel. Daniel gave her an encouraging smile. I'll stay right here. If anything feels wrong, you can stop. No judgment. Lyra's heart pounded, but she lifted her hand and pressed the handle lightly. The water swirled and gurgled loudly. She jumped back instinctively, but this time she didn't scream. Her body shook, but she stayed standing. She watched as the water calmed, the roar fading to silence. I can control it, she said, voice trembling but full of wonder. Yes, Daniel said softly. You tell it what to do. That's the key. She studied the machine. The thought of the spinning water no longer filled her with complete terror. It was a puzzle to solve. Step by step, she pressed the handle again, feeling a mix of fear and pride as the water moved under her command. Minutes passed. Lyra practiced small presses, careful not to make it roar too loudly, learning its rhythm. Each success made her frills brighten, glowing with a soft, warm blue. She began to understand the strange human way of living, with fear accepting it, learning to manage it, and even mastering it. Daniel watched her silently, heart swelling with pride. Humans often called courage heroic when it involved battles or wars, but this Lyra facing a simple, terrifying machine was courage of another kind. It was vulnerability met with determination. It was fear acknowledged and overcome. And Daniel knew that any human who saw her now would feel humbled by her bravery. Finally, Lyra stepped back and looked at the toilet, her glowing eyes reflecting both relief and triumph. I did it, she said softly. I faced it. Daniel laughed gently. You did. You faced something that scared you more than anything else. And you didn't run. For the first time, Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Her frills pulsed with a brighter shade of blue, and her tail twitched lightly, a sign of pride among her people. On Virel, mastering fear was a rite of passage, but here, she had done it in a world foreign and strange, relying on a human's patience and kindness. Thank you, she said quietly, for staying with me, for not laughing, for understanding. Daniel shook his head. You don't need to thank me. You did all the work. I just stood beside you. Lyra paused, considering his words. On my world, to stand beside someone who is afraid. That is honorable. I will remember this. I will remember you. Daniel smiled. I'll remember this too. It's not every day I see someone face terror with this kind of bravery. For a moment, the bathroom felt peaceful. The white walls were no longer cold and frightening, they were simply walls. The machine was no longer a roaring monster, it was a tool, tamed by courage and patience. Lyra straightened, standing taller than she had when she first entered the room. Her frills glimmered with renewed confidence. She realized that fear, though powerful, could be faced. And humans, though strange, had a quiet strength in guiding and protecting those who were afraid. That day, Lyra had not just learned to use a toilet. She had learned to trust. She had learned that courage could take many forms, and that sometimes, the bravest thing one could do was stand trembling in front of something unknown, and face it anyway. Daniel watched her leave the bathroom, a quiet pride swelling in his chest. In the small victories, he saw the proof of humanity's strength, not in weapons or battles, but in patience, understanding, and kindness. Lyra had faced her fear, and in doing so, she had begun to understand humans in a way that no textbook or lecture could ever teach. That evening, after the lessons of the day, Lyra and Daniel sat together in the small living quarters. A soft glow from the ceiling lights reflected off Lyra's blue skin, making her appear almost ethereal. She had changed since that first encounter with the terrifying machine. Her frills pulsed calmly now, soft and steady, a sign that she felt safer. Though still alert, Lyra held a cup of warm liquid humans called tea, her fingers wrapped carefully around it. She sipped, and her translator hummed as she spoke, her voice soft but curious. Human Daniel, I do not understand. Why do humans live with things that frighten them every day? Daniel leaned back in his chair, thinking. I guess, because life is full of things we cannot control. Sometimes fear is small, like this toilet, and sometimes it is huge, like the universe around us. We accept it because there's no other choice. Lyra's eyes widened. No other choice? Yes, he said quietly. We face fear even when we don't want to. Sometimes we pretend it doesn't exist. Sometimes we laugh at it. Sometimes we teach each other to be brave. That's how humans survive. That's how humans grow. Lyra stared into her tea, the liquid reflecting her glowing face. On Virel, fear was removed when it appeared. It was treated immediately, quietly, and efficiently. Here, humans seemed to carry fear with them, willingly, day after day. And yet, they survived. They thrived. You humans are strange, Lyra said softly, a hint of awe in her voice. You face fear without removing it. You do not hide from it. And yet, you continue. This is your strength. Daniel smiled. Maybe, but strength is not always about being fearless. Sometimes it's about what you do with your fear. Like you, today. Lyra looked at him, unsure. Me? Yes, Daniel said. You faced something terrifying, and you didn't run. You stayed. You learned. You controlled your fear instead of letting it control you. That is courage, in my world and yours. Her frills shivered slightly, a soft flicker of pride in the cool evening light. I never thought I would survive that room, she admitted. I never thought I would touch the roaring water and not be afraid. But you stayed. You did not laugh. You did not leave. You stood with me. Daniel shook his head gently. I just wanted to help. I wanted you to feel safe. That's all, but maybe that's what humans do best. We stand with each other when fear comes. That is how we face it together. Lyra studied him, her glowing eyes wide and thoughtful. I have seen humans who mock and laugh at fear. And I have seen you. You are different, you. You carry courage not just for yourself, but for others. That is rare. That is honorable. Daniel felt a warmth in his chest he had never felt before. He had fought wars with aliens twice his size, negotiated peace where entire worlds were at stake, and yet here, sitting with Lyra, he felt a quiet pride that surpassed anything he had known. Humans measured strength in victories and accomplishments, but this was something deeper. Lyra's frills glowed brighter now. She sat taller, the weight of fear slowly lifting from her small frame. On Virel, protectors are honored, she said softly. Those who face fear with you, those who do not leave you alone. They are celebrated, today. Today you are a protector. To me, Daniel smiled, a mix of humility and warmth. I don't feel like a hero, he said. I just tried to do the right thing. But that is heroism, Lyra said firmly. Not weapons, not battles, not war. This, kindness, patience, understanding, standing beside someone in their fear. That is real courage. That is real strength. Daniel looked at her, and for the first time, he truly saw the universe through her eyes, a place where courage could be gentle, fear could be faced, and trust could form bridges across worlds. A place where humans, despite their flaws and quirks, were capable of remarkable things. Lyra sipped her tea quietly, thinking. The terrifying toilet, the roaring water, the panic, it all felt distant now. What remained was a lesson she would carry forever. Humans were not just strong in body or mind. They were strong in heart. And that, she realized, was why she had come to this strange world, not to fear it, but to understand it. She looked at Daniel with glowing eyes, a soft smile forming. Human Daniel, I will remember today. I will remember you. Not because of the machine, but because you stayed. You taught me what it means to be brave, even in the smallest ways. Daniel nodded, touched. And I'll remember you, Lyra. You've shown me that courage comes in many forms. Sometimes the smallest battles are the most important. The room was quiet then, filled only with the soft hum of the lights and the unspoken understanding between them. In that moment, Lyra felt something deeper than fear or triumph. She felt trust. She felt admiration. And above all, she felt hope. The next morning, Lyra stood in front of the bathroom door, her frills glowing a soft, determined blue. The memory of the terrifying roar of the spinning water still lingered in her mind, but it no longer paralyzed her. Today, she would face it alone. Today, she would conquer the strange human machine that had once seemed alive, angry and impossible. Daniel appeared at the doorway, smiling softly. Good morning, Lyra. Ready to try again? Lyra nodded, her eyes steady. I am ready, today. I will not be afraid. Daniel stepped aside. I'll be right here if you need me. But I think you can do this yourself. For a moment, Lyra hesitated, letting her hands hover in front of the toilet. She recalled the lessons of the previous day, the careful touches, the slow movements, the understanding that the machine was not a predator, but a tool. Her tail twitched lightly, a sign of focus among her species. She pressed the handle. The water gurgled, swirled, and roared loudly. Lyra jumped, but this time she did not scream. She remained steady, gripping the porcelain lightly, letting the motion of the spinning water flow around her like a challenge she had chosen to meet. "I control it," she whispered, a small smile forming on her lips. "It does not control me." Daniel nodded from the doorway, pride shining in his eyes. "Exactly. That's it. You're doing it perfectly." Lyra pressed the handle again, this time more confidently. The roar came, louder than before, but she met it without flinching. The fear that had once made her frills droop now fueled her courage. Each flush, each swirl of water, became a small victory. "I survived it," she said softly, more to herself than to Daniel. Her voice carried a mix of relief, pride, and wonder. I faced it. And I am not afraid." Daniel stepped closer, careful not to crowd her space. "You did more than face it," he said. "You mastered it. You turned fear into understanding." "That's remarkable, Lyra. Most humans don't even do that." Lyra paused, considering his words. Humans, she realized, were brave in ways she had never imagined. Not just in battle or exploration, but in facing the small, strange, frightening things every day. This simple room, this ordinary machine, had tested her more than any battlefield ever could. And she had passed. For a long moment, she simply stood there, watching the toilet in silent triumph. Her frills pulsed with steady light, a sign of calm and confidence. She breathed slowly, feeling the fear of the past days melt away, replaced by pride. Daniel smiled warmly. "I'm proud of you, Lyra. You did this on your own. You didn't run, you didn't hide, and you didn't give up. That's real strength." Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting gratitude and admiration. "Human Daniel, I could not have learned without you. Your patience, your understanding. You did not mock me. You did not leave me alone. You stood beside me while I faced what terrified me most." Daniel shook his head gently. "No, Lyra, you did all the hard work. I just stood here. Courage like yours doesn't need teaching. It shows itself." Her frills brightened, a soft and proud blue, and her tail lifted slightly, a sign of her species' triumph. "On Virel, facing fear is honored," she said softly. "And today I am honored to have done so. I will remember this moment forever." Daniel's heart swelled. Humanity measured courage by wars won and challenges faced, but here, in this quiet room with a strange alien girl, he realized the true meaning of bravery. It was in patience, in kindness, in standing with someone when fear threatened to overwhelm them. Lyra took a final, careful step away from the toilet. She had not only learned to use it, she had mastered her fear. The room, once a place of terror, now felt calm. The machine, once a roaring monster, now sat silently, tamed by understanding and courage. I can do this anytime," she whispered, almost in disbelief. "I am no longer afraid." Daniel nodded. "Exactly. You can face anything now, Lyra. You've proven it to yourself." Lyra's eyes softened as she looked at him. "Human Daniel, you have shown me that courage is not just the absence of fear. It is facing it. And that is beautiful. That is humanity." Daniel smiled. "And you've shown me that courage comes in many forms. Sometimes the smallest victories are the most important." Lyra's frills pulsed gently in agreement, a quiet rhythm of confidence and trust. In the small victory of a terrifying toilet, she had discovered something far greater: the strength of humanity, the power of patience, and the profound impact of standing with someone in their fear. And in that simple, quiet room, two species, human and Virelian, shared a moment of understanding, courage, and respect that neither would ever forget. Weeks had passed since Lyra first entered the bathroom, trembling at the sight of the terrifying machine humans called a toilet. She had faced it, learned its ways, and conquered her fear. But more than that, She had learned about humans, their patience, their courage, and their unexpected kindness. And she would never forget it. Lyra sat beside Daniel in the small living quarters, watching the glow of the evening lights reflect softly on his face. She had grown more confident in her steps, more steady in her frills, but her mind still replayed the lessons of the past days. On Virel, bravery was measured by strength or skill. Here, she realized, bravery could also be measured by patience, by the quiet courage to stay beside someone who is afraid. "Human Daniel," Lyra said softly, her translator humming. "I have seen many humans in my brief time on this world. Some laugh at fear. Some ignore it. Some run away. But you—" Her frills pulsed warmly, steady and bright. "You stood with me. You guided me. You did not leave me when I was most afraid. That is your true strength." Daniel looked at her, humbled. "I just wanted to help," he said quietly. "I didn't think of it as strength. I just thought, it's what anyone should do." Lyra shook her head gently. "No, many would not. Many leave those who are afraid alone. Many laugh, but you faced my fear with patience. You faced my terror with understanding. That is remarkable." She paused, staring at the floor as if choosing her words carefully. "On Virel, we honor protectors. Those who do not leave, those who guide, those who teach without mocking. They are remembered forever. You, human Daniel, are a protector." Daniel felt a strange warmth rise in his chest. He had never thought of himself as heroic. He had faced wars, negotiations, and hostile aliens. Yet here, with this small Virelian girl who had trusted him completely, he felt a kind of pride that no battlefield could give him. The quiet strength of kindness, he realized, was just as powerful as any weapon. Lyra looked at him with glowing eyes. "I have faced fear before. I have trained in the harshest conditions on my world. I have stared into storms, at predators, at collapsing stars. But nothing has taught me courage like you. Not the machine, not the loud water, but the human who stood with me, calm, patient, and kind." Daniel smiled softly. "And you have shown me something too. Courage can come in small steps, in moments that seem ordinary, in facing things that tear.